Hello, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel today. Most of my videos start with a slight problem. Today's problem is layer cakes. My layer cakes are out of bounds. They're out of control. I have too many. I've been saving them up. It's time to make some beautiful charity quilts with them. So come along with me today while I make my first one. The first thing I want to tackle is these loose layer cakes. Some of these are leftovers from other layer cake packages. Some of them are cuts that I made out of leftover fabric myself. So I'm just taking a look to see what I've got here. What you see me doing here is sorting these into potential layer cakes that could go together in one project. Once I had them sorted out, I kind of bundled them up into little bundles and put them back in that bin. Now here you see me taking some white yardage. I bought this white yardage on sale quite some time ago, purposefully to make 10-inch squares out of it. So I finally pulled this out and I ended up with a total of 92 10-inch squares. My first step is to take a colored fabric right sides together with a white 10-inch square. Now I'm using half of a Drunkard's Path template here. I'm not using the other part of this set. You can use a big dinner plate, a charger, or cut your own circle out of cardboard, whatever works for you. I just chose the spot I wanted to cut and tried to cut all of them the same. But this is going to be so forgiving. If some of them are a little different, it's not going to matter. My next step is to switch the colors on these two pieces. Then I'm folding them in half and I'm giving them a little finger press to find the center. Now I can flip these right sides together. And it looks kind of weird doing it, but I am going to put a pin in that spot right where the two little creases are. And the next step is to stitch these two pieces right sides together. Now you should definitely do a test block before you do them all. I stitched and I found that when I started with my two tail ends about 1/4 inch apart, that came out the best for cutting this down to a 9-inch square, which is what I ended up doing. I had no problem easing these sides together, these edges together, as I went around the curve. If you feel more comfortable, you can put a ton of pins in this curve, and that will get you the same result as well. Now here's what that block looks like after pressing. And you can see there's a little 1/4 inch overhang on the top and that bottom seam. There's just that overhang because I started sewing with a 1/4 inch difference. Now, if you use both parts of that Drunkard's Path template properly, you will be able to match the edges. You won't need to worry about an overhang. But in my case, I just wanted to move through this quickly, so I'm only using 1/2 of the template. Once I had these all cut out, I did do a little crease in the middle of each piece. That'll make it easy for me to match and pin these together. I used my iron to make these creases because then I could do more than one at a time. The next step is placing these right sides together and putting a pin in that middle crease. And here is my stack of pinned units ready to go to the sewing machine. And as I mentioned, I'm putting the part that is not the quarter circle a 1/4 inch past the part that is the quarter circle before I'm stitching these together. Once all that stitching was done, I pressed these seams flat. Next, it was time to trim these, and I decided on a 9-inch block. So you're going to see I'm going to trim these all to 9 inches square. I'm starting on the quarter circle because I know that was a 10-inch square at some point. So I'm starting with my 9 inches measured on that quarter circle and cutting off those top 2 sides and then just trimming off that overhang. Once those blocks were all trimmed, came the fun part, and that was the layout. And you'll see what I did here. I just kind of played around with it and found something I liked. Now I wanted to show you how I clipped these rows together. I clipped them, so I picked the rows up left to right with the left block on top, and I clipped the top of the row. And then the first row is on the top of my stack and the bottom row is on the bottom of my stack. Now it is simply a matter of sewing each of these 7 rows together. So I started with the first 2 blocks and stitched them together, and I'm keeping everything oriented with the top away from me. Then I stitched the 3rd and 4th blocks in this row together. Then I stitched blocks 1 and 2 to blocks 3 and 4. Then I added on that last block. When I folded this up, I made sure that I clipped where the top side of this row is. And on future rows, you may see video clips that I put 2 clips on row 2, 3 clips on row 3, 4 clips on row 4, all the way up to 7 clips on row 7. I just didn't want to take any chances that these would get mixed up. And here's another look at putting on the number of clips for my top side based on what row this is. Once I had all 7 rows completed, it was time to put these rows together. There's really no matching on these blocks until it's time to put the rows together, and then I'm just matching the seams in between each of the 5 blocks. And I am using a nesting technique. That means the seam on one row is going one way, the seam on the other row is going the other way. I'm clipping it together and I'm kind of sliding my fingers together to make sure that it is actually joining or nesting or catching on the other seam. And if you want to double check your work, you can open that up and while the clip is still on, take a look and you can see my seam is matching. And again, I'm putting on row 1, I'm putting a clip on the top of the block and a clip on the left of the block because this is the top leftmost part of my quilt. And I don't want to get it mixed up when I sew 2 different rows together. So I want to make sure everything stays the way it should be. And here you see I am sewing row 1 and row 2 together. I set row 1 and 2 to the side, then I grabbed row 3 and row 4 to stitch them together in the same way. I left those 3 clips on the top of row 3 and I added one on the left side so I would keep this set oriented properly. Next, I stitched row 5 and 6 together. Then I decided to go ahead and add on row 7 onto the bottom of 5 and 6. Next, I grabbed the unit of 1 and 2 with 1 at the top. Then I grabbed the unit of 3 and 4, made sure that section was oriented properly, put those sections together and stitched that seam. And last, I joined the unit that had rows 1, 2, 3, and 4 together with the section that had rows 5, 6, and 7. I am so thrilled with the way this quilt top turned out. I simply love the colors. I love the way these blocks kind of blend into each other. And what I really, really love is how easy this came together. There's no matching until you put the blocks together, and this quilt top took me 3 hours. Thank you very much for coming along with me today on this quick and easy layer cake buster. Have a great day, and I hope to see you again soon.